Yeah, looking back at 2019, it's been a wild ride. I don't want to sound cliche there, but it really has. It's been nuts, like meeting all of these independent musicians, hearing all their music, seeing all their content, talking with them directly, and living day to day with them in our Indepreneur Indies group. So thank you guys so much.
You are now listening to the Creative Juice podcast brought to you by Indepreneur.io.
What's up, Indies? Yeah. This one's a little bit looser. It's loosey-goosey, guys. What's up, Indies? Welcome back to Creative Juice, your favorite podcast and mine. I'm your host, Circa. Corrin is not with me at the moment. She's having technical difficulties over at the Nashville office. So she's going to record her part over there, and I'm going to record mine over here, which we should have done for a lot more episodes. We probably would have gotten more episodes out, but we're doing it now. So this episode's all about what an amazing year 2019 has been, not only for independent music, but for our community of independent musicians. Before we get started, this podcast is sponsored entirely by our company, Indepreneur, and our main membership service, Indie Pro. If you're not an Indie Pro, you're missing out. Go to Indepreneur.io/episode 114. That's episode 114. And you will see an exclusive link for our podcast listeners in the show notes for you to get a discounted access to Indie Pro for your first month. Try it out. I think you're going to be overwhelmed with what it contains. One of our main marketing challenges is just getting people to try it, because usually when people try it, they're like, holy shit, there's so much stuff in here. So I really recommend that you check it out. And it's what keeps this podcast going. It's also going to help you out tremendously in your goal of marketing your music. With that said, my whole plan here is to run down a list of amazing kind of points that I feel about Indepreneur as a company over this last year, some things we've achieved, some cool things we've seen in the community, and then also to talk about some evolving trends in 2019 in the music industry at large. So, and once I'm done with my list, we're just going to kick it over to Corrin, and she'll be delivering hers. So to get started, I'd like to talk about how sort of digital marketing has changed in the music industry. Because when we first started in 2017, like the music industry, even though it was only 3 years ago, was really a lot more resistant than it is right now to digital marketing. So like Facebook advertising, email marketing, all that stuff, having a good website was not a chief concern of the music industry and major record labels in 2017. And I'm happy to report that today, that is still the case. Most record labels are not doing any of this stuff very well. But what we are seeing is tons of record labels contracting out high-level media buyers and agencies, ours included. And we're seeing them sort of take that risk of hiring someone to achieve these things instead of their own internal teams. Internal marketing teams at record labels are typically bullshit, as far as I can tell. There's a whole lot of people, older people who are paying very, very young people to sort of tell them what's hip and spot the next trend and talk about this or that shiny object and direct all of their marketing dollars towards that. They pay insane amounts of money to their marketing agencies. Like, we're the cheapest marketing agency on the block, and we do a lot more for that money. Most of the marketing agencies used by major record labels for things like Facebook advertising, charging like, huge retainers, like $20K, for like some simple stuff. So that's kind of still the case with, the major record labels, except we're seeing the demand increase from those record labels for digital marketing, but it's not on a very knowledgeable basis. Like, I wouldn't say that they have a firm hold on it, but they kind of know they need it now more than ever. They're still making a lot of the dumb old mistakes though. So I would say that the marketing teams at major record labels have started to wake up to digital marketing, have started to want to use it more appropriately, but it's still very much in the let's run ads to Spotify kind of territory, or the let's pay for Spotify playlisting or influencer marketing. And we'll talk about that. But ultimately, in terms of like digital marketing that businesses use, advertising, email marketing, one-to-one communication, retargeting for advertising, dynamic websites, responsive websites, websites that contain even the potential of gaining a subscriber for email or a customer. Those are still very much a mystery to the major record label. I would say that I've talked to a lot of teams. Like, teams are more keen to this stuff than the leadership. Recently, we saw, what's his face from Warner Brothers. He did a talk recently. I'm blanking on his name. Just give me a second to look it up. Warner label Facebook ads, right? Right. Warner Music, Scott Cohen. This guy is like leadership at Warner Music, came out saying that the best way to ensure nobody ever hears your music is to release it. Which, no, it's not. If you don't release it, there's a higher probability that someone won't hear it. So I get the hyperbolic statement, but you're leadership at a major music label. Maybe you shouldn't say things that are just patently false. But in that talk that he gave where he said that gem, he also kind of said that, like, hey, we don't really get how all this marketing stuff works. No one's going to get it. It's too confusing. And it's not what, we thought it would be. It's not as easy. It's not providing the insights that we want or the result that we want. So it's just too complicated for us. That said, let's talk about blockchain, which is a fucking asshole thing to say to like a group of people who are looking up to you for your business advice, right? It's like, oh, here's this thing that businesses and even just regular jackasses selling like little tchotchkes online on a Shopify store. They get it. We can't get it. That said, let's talk about fucking blockchain. Like, how insane do you have to be? So Scott Cohen, that guy, I'm sure he's a great guy or whatever, but he's just kind of representative of like what the leadership at major record labels are like right now. They sort of don't get it when it comes to digital marketing, and that's still the case. So we saw the ground shift in the internal marketing teams of major record labels. The leadership is still kind of out to lunch, and they just really, like, no one's hiring you as the CEO of a record label because of your prowess with digital marketing. They're hiring you because God knows what, something else that's not important to your business result. But that's what I see is like the changes in the record labels when it comes to digital marketing over 2019. That's also representative of a larger trend, which is, okay, major record labels have kind of missed the boat on digital marketing or continue to, and their interactions with it thus far have been like tangential. They're not like standard practices at record labels to promote people with Facebook ads, to sell merchandise and other products using email marketing. That's not standard practice. That's not how they make their money. But they still continue to sort of poke the bear when it comes to concepts that they'll never understand, which is like blockchain, AR, AI. A lot of a lot of major players in the record industry have taken to saying things like, we're going to Moneyball this shit. You ever seen Moneyball? Literally, record label executives saying, we're going to Moneyball this shit. First of all, Moneyball is a book that was based off of this baseball manager in the Oakland A's who used sabermetrics, which is like a mathematical system for determining how to draft a winning baseball team. You're not going to Moneyball this shit if Facebook ads is too confusing for you. So the fact that, they're saying that, and then they're going to sort of look to the next shiny object of like blockchain. Like, they don't understand blockchain. Most financial professionals don't understand blockchain. How's a music industry professional going to understand it? Yet they see it as like the answer to all their problems. So instead of really drilling down and focusing on the thing that is a clear answer to their problems right now, they're looking to the future, to things that may be an answer to some problems they don't even have yet, and they'll never understand. So I would say that like the main thing that got us into all this, which is like, why doesn't the record industry market the way that businesses market? Shouldn't they? Wouldn't that be better? And also, could we save a lot of independent musicians from getting figgity fucked in the process? That's kind of changed to like, the record industry does understand, like, they know about marketing, but they patently refuse to engage in it in a meaningful way. And I would say that that's different. That's different from like them just not even really knowing. No, they know, but they just don't care, or they don't even hope to understand it. Like they don't even want to try to understand how it works. So that's disheartening to a degree. Keeps us in business. We're the only game in town when it comes to actually applying this stuff to your music career. It's not at the record labels, but that's just, a continuation of the trend and how it's evolved in 2019. I said in my sort of 2018 predictions, I think last year or a couple years back, that the music industry would start to talk about blockchain. And they have. Oh, here it is. Like they're talking about it. And I want to remind everyone that like the music industry doesn't understand blockchain. No music application that's based on blockchain technology is going to revolutionize the music industry anytime soon. Certainly, I mean, if it does, not in a way that benefits, the bottom line of most music artists, recording artists. So I don't worry about blockchain. But they are starting to talk about it more and more this year. AR is coming into play. How are we going to use AR to sell music? You're not going to do that. Someone else is, because you never figure out how to use the new technology to sell music. That's not what you guys are up to. So anyways, that's the end of my rant about sort of the music industry in 2019 and how that kind of went down this year. I'd like to move on to how the streaming wars have evolved, which is that Spotify is continuing to grow. They eked out their second profitable quarter that wasn't a tax fluke. So they've actually been profitable 3 times, but in 2018, it was due to like some random tax fluke. So I would consider the second profitable quarter is Q3 of 2019 for Spotify. Now they did this by things that kind of screw over us as independent artists, which is they're bringing in podcasts like this one you're listening to right now. This podcast is being used by Spotify to dilute your earnings per premium user on Spotify. Think about it. A premium user, maybe they listen to 30 hours of content on Spotify every month. Spotify is able to replace 10 of those hours with podcasting where they have to pay no royalty, and they have to pay less royalties to you, the person that they're streaming aside from the podcast. And that really sucks because, Spotify doesn't pay you a royalty for every stream. They pay you a percentage of what people are listening to and how much money those people represent. So if someone's got a $9.99 Spotify subscription every month, then they're listening to 100 artists, right? And you're one of those artists, then you get like a tenth of a cent or whatever. Or no, 1 cent, right? You get 10 cents, right? So that's how the math works. And by adding in all this podcast support, by adding podcasts into their algorithmic playlists, by buying podcast studios and putting exclusive podcasts on Spotify, they're really diluting the earnings per, premium subscriber for every single artist. And that's probably how they've managed to become profitable. I would surmise. They also ran this sort of like promotion to give away Google Home Minis, which I got one, to premium subscribers, which I guess was supposed to drum up support for premium subscription. It also gave a lot of free Google Home Minis to existing premium subscribers. Like they might have had to give out 100 million since that's how many premium subscribers there are. So that's kind of concerning. Wouldn't be a major point on my 2019 points, except for the fact that Amazon immediately started giving away Echoes along with Amazon Music, I guess, or whatever. So that kind of picked up in the streaming wars. And what we're seeing is that Spotify wants to be in control of the device flow to their end users, because a lot of financial analysts have been telling Spotify, hey, man, the only way you're going to make money is if you get into the device game, which Apple is already in. Apple doesn't need to make money off Apple Music, and they probably never will. They don't care because they make money off of the phones, off of the MacBooks or what have you. And as long as you're using those products, they want to make your experience better. So you keep using those products. So they keep up this charade that is Apple Music. They don't necessarily care about adding playlisting or adding a lot of the features that Spotify has to their platform. Like Apple Music has playlists. You can build them, you can share them, you can market them the same way, but they don't have the same culture that Spotify playlisting has. And I think that's largely indicative of the fact that Apple doesn't care. Apple's not trying to beat Spotify necessarily. They're just trying to sell more iPhones. So I think the streaming wars would have died down given that effect that Apple Music is not trying to develop Apple Music. Like Apple doesn't necessarily want to develop it. But then Amazon threw its hat into the ring recently. So not only have they been beefing up their Amazon Music service, but they just rolled out a free Amazon Music service. So they have like a Pandora-y style application right now. You can listen to music for free, all ad supported, which kind of, once Amazon enters the picture, it's a little bit different than Apple, because Apple only cares about you having this music service insofar as it keeps you locked into their ecosystem. It gives them more control. It gives them more places to market their products to you and make you need that iPhone. Is you're on Apple Music, you're not going to leave the iPhone because it's inconvenient, right? Well, that's different than Amazon. Amazon doesn't want you to buy their devices. They don't want you to like listen to ads for Amazon products. They just want to beat everyone until they die. That's what Amazon wants. They want to strangle the life out of all competitors, and they don't really care how they do it. They don't care if they lose money doing it. That's been their business model. Hey, let's get in there and offer just dirt cheap, just like bottom of the barrel, not even making a profit until all of our competitors die. And then we'll own that market, and then we'll just like gradually raise prices in that market. That's kind of how Amazon operates. And that spells trouble for Spotify if they are really taking this streaming thing seriously. So I think that's a major development in the streaming wars. The fact that Apple Music hasn't been really different over this last year kind of tells me that Apple Music doesn't really care about developing their platform that much. And the fact that Amazon's getting into it tells me that Spotify isn't out of the woods just because Apple, is sort of falling by the wayside in terms of developing their platform or advertising it or making it something that people really want. I don't think Apple cares about ruling music, but if Amazon does, that's a big problem for Spotify. I also think that, we saw some changes to copyright law in 2019. I'm not going to go too heavily into that, but ultimately it didn't change much for, the revenue model for people who offer their music through streaming. So that kind of tells me that while streaming has been the answer for record labels who have seen dwindling profits, those profits have returned via streaming. I think it still has a lot of challenges ahead of it. I don't think that streaming has landed as the dominant model yet. It very well may, but I think things are still in flux. There's still room for experimentation. There's still room for challenges to that model. I think ultimately people want a constant flow of streaming music on their phone, but how that happens is open for debate. So that's how the music industry and the record label marketing kind of outlook has changed in 2019, gotten a little bit, more support for digital marketing at the lower levels of these organizations. The top level brass is still kind of up their own asses about it. The music industry is continuing to poke the bear on things that they really don't know about, blockchain, AI, and AR. And the streaming wars have evolved. Apple Music, unless they make a huge update or roll out some new features next year, it doesn't seem like they're really playing a game. It seems like they're on the sidelines, whereas Amazon has just entered in a big way, and that could be a huge problem for Spotify. Tidal's kind of, who cares about Tidal anymore? It's not a serious contender. That said, on the digital marketing front, digital marketing channels grew this year. We saw Messenger evolve. So Messenger is evolving to be a lot different than the email replacement that a lot of people mistook it for. At the same time, we're hearing rumblings that iMessage is going to be added as a messenger marketing capability, which is very exciting. We're seeing more intelligence to new ad types on platforms like Snapchat and TikTok. We're seeing TikTok grow to become a serious contender to Instagram for the youth market. And we're seeing text messaging grow. Text marketing has grown among celebrities, and they're still not using a very good text marketing platform. They're using this closed beta system called Community, and that's kind of stupid, but they are getting into it, which kind of spells that text marketing has a bright future, that there's going to be development in terms of text marketing going forward. That's pretty exciting to see that explode. it's exciting to see TikTok have ads and TikTok have all this like growth in 2019 and sort of really explode into the scene. It's also exciting to see Snapchat's ad types. Snapchat has a lot of challenges ahead of it. Young people really use Snapchat as like a daily driver in terms of like messaging, some forms of social media for them, sharing between friend groups and stuff like that. Instagram continues to try to take down Snapchat with the features that it rolls out. And TikTok is a challenge to Snapchat, but not a huge one because it doesn't do the same things that Snapchat does. Snapchat allows young people to communicate between each other. TikTok is more of like a Vine for this new generation. So it's interesting to see all these platforms kind of grow a little bit. TikTok enters the space. That's super exciting. But we've also seen some cool things in influencer marketing, which I did want to talk about in this episode. And that is that it seems that influencer marketing is democratizing in a big way due to this new generation. So I will call them Gen Z, but the young people today who are making content on social media, these are, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, millions of fans, and they're offering up premium marketing space to people who have, even $100, $200. And what that spells for the music industry is that you don't have to, pay a major YouTube or Instagram influencer to get serious results out of influencer marketing. And that kind of means that influencer marketing has been democratized. It's being democratized. It's accessible to you, the independent musician. In fact, right now, tons of independent artists are paying off playlist curators, Instagram influencers, TikTok channels, or whatever you call them, TikTok, profiles. They're paying them. They're paying these kids to kind of make a video with their music or share their music to their audience. And that's resulting in huge growth in streaming numbers for those artists. That's huge. That's not something that was the case in 2018 or 2017 as much. We didn't see a whole lot of independent artists, buying out influence from micro-influencers. Now that's a thing. And I think that's going to explode if TikTok continues. TikTok is a major place where music can be marketed, and it's evolving heavily right now. So I'm very excited about all those developments. Now on the Indepreneur side, to get real with you, because it's crazy. It's crazy to think where we started this year, or even where we started 3 years ago, and where we are now. So this past year, we added 3 new trainings to our membership area and fully updated 2 new trainings. We had meant to have 6 total between updates and new trainings. We fell short on 1, but our way of making up for it in 2020 is coming in our 2020 predictions episode. But I will say that we're going to be upping the training volume significantly in our member area. It's still crazy that we created over 80 new video lessons for our training area for our Indie Pro members. We tripled our indie deals section, so there are now 3 times as many indie deals as there were at the beginning of the year. That's pretty insane. We added 4 new team members to Indepreneur, and we broke 100 episodes of this podcast, Creative Juice. We also, at the beginning of this year, started a YouTube channel. This YouTube channel, if you're watching on YouTube, and we created over 130 videos on that channel. Just nuts, right? Like 130 10 to 50 minute videos created in 1 year by, just me and this gentleman for the most part. That's pretty nuts. So I was shocked when I finally counted up the number of videos. I thought it might be over 100, but I was shocked. And that's all made possible by you guys who have watched, who have commented, who have, joined into this kind of big experiment of me getting into YouTube and us getting into YouTube as a company. So I want to thank you guys so much for making it so real. We also went from 300 to 6,000, about to break 7,000 subscribers now. And that's super exciting. When I started YouTube, I had this mind of like, we should get to 100,000, like figure out how long that takes. And though we obviously didn't get to 100,000 this year, I kind of see this trajectory of it where it's like, it's the law of accelerating returns, right? For that first like 3,000, it was like we gained 1,000 every like 2 or 3 months, and then the last 4,000 have come in the last like half of the year, the back half. And that's pretty crazy to watch. It's pretty crazy to watch how, like, if you just stick at it and you keep on putting out content and you keep at it and you keep adjusting your workflow and adjusting how you do things to get a better result, that there is this knee of the curve to be experienced. I can already tell by how the average subscribers per day has grown that it's going to explode upwards exponentially if we just keep doing it. I think that's true of all things that you want to do in terms of content or building an audience. So it's just been really exciting. And I want to thank you guys so much for contributing and being one of those 6,000, 7,000 subscribers. And then lastly, our Indie Pro membership. At the beginning of this year, I think we had about, I want to say 500 members, maybe 550. And we now have 1,100 Indie Pro members, over that actually. So we more than doubled our Indie Pro membership. What's even crazier is that we've gotten really tight analytics about all this, and we've really had a chance to look at the data and to do a lot of prediction. It seems at this rate that we will be well over 2,000 subscribers by this time next year. And that's crazy. Like, when I first did this, it was to help one person, my friend Nino Bless, when I first started like applying digital marketing to music. And that grew to like a small group of friends I was helping. That grew to a class of 10 initial students for FanFinder. And now it's over 1,000 members of Indie Pro who have not only taken FanFinder, but have taken, our other 11 trainings, which is a lot of video. It's nuts. It's just kind of surreal to look back on and how this whole thing has grown over these last 3 years. In March of 2020, we'll be entering our 4th year as a company. And not a whole lot of things that started the way that this did become that. So yeah, looking back at 2019, it's been a wild ride. I don't want to sound cliche there, but it really has. It's been nuts, like meeting all of these independent musicians, hearing all their music, seeing all their content, talking with them directly, and living day to day with them in our Indepreneur Indies group. So thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for making 2019 an awesome year. Thank you guys for being a part of this whole crazy journey. And I promise you that in 2020, it's going to be crazier. Like, I've been doing more end of the year planning and organization than I ever have by leaps and bounds. I know pretty much down to the week, everything that's going to get created in 2020 and how it's going to get created and when it's going to roll out. And I can just say that, like, you ain't seen nothing yet. I'll say that. So I'm done with the useless platitudes and cliches. Thank you guys so much. Now here's Corrin with her 2019 year in review, which is a whole different set of things that I think are also really excited, but I wanted to give her a chance to talk about all the things that she had a direct hand in instead of just hogging up all the screen time.
All right. Well, first up for me is Indie Founder. We have seen some really cool things come out of Founder, including newbies who are just trying to get through the training. Maybe they've never gone through it in an organized fashion before. They've just kind of hung out in the training vault. They're stepping through stuff, and so like that has been something that has been really cool to watch because it kind of changes how they thought about using Indie Pro. Of course, Indie Pro comes with Founder. So that's something, they've had access to all the trainings instead of like just buying FanFinder and being like, okay, how does this actually apply to stuff, So that's something that's been really cool, and not just newbies, but then also we've had some people who are kind of in the middle who have executed some things, but not necessarily all the things, and maybe they're kind of stuck. I think this phase of the buddy system that most people are stuck at is the permission stage. They've run their FanFinders. They've, run some, different ads trying to get people to opt in, and they've had a hard time getting people to sign up for stuff. The other level that we see a lot is affirmation because getting that first purchase can be really difficult. So those are the stages that we see most people having trouble with. And so we're able to kind of show them through Founder, what's special for them and how they can, maybe pivot if they've done permission or affirmation stuff before, if they've tried to get people to opt in, or if they've tried to, get people to purchase, that's the hardest things to do, I think. After that, it's just kind of building on that, right? So yeah, I mean, Founder has been cool because we've seen them accelerate their music careers as well. And then, we also have people who have already done a launch before and have a list of customers and are like, okay, so now, what could I have improved? What did I not know about how to evaluate the results of that? Also like asking, what do I do next? Like now I've got these sales and like, I don't want to just not do anything with these people, right? Like I need to keep them warm and I need to offer them something else next. And so we've seen a range of people in Founder, and, it's cool because people can kind of bounce off of each other because these different pods of people are in the same place. So they're not alone in it or trying to figure it out within their own little bubble. They're able to like see how other people have responded to it. So I think that that's been really cool. We started with a 12-week beta and then we moved into 8 weeks because 12 just ended up being a little long. We were seeing people kind of tail off near the end. So we put it into an 8-week and we run a couple of classes that way. And it's just been, it's worked out really well. I think everybody's really happy. We do 2 coaching calls a week and people have just been really excited, even if they can't make it live, like they're putting their assignments in, right? Because we have a curriculum that's kind of, it's really flexible no matter what level people are at. Like the curriculum is built so that the assignment will be challenging for them. So, we have an assignment every week and they come to the live calls and we get to interface with these people one-on-one. Even though it's a group coaching, like everybody is doing individual things and they can identify the people who are in the same struggles or having the same success, right? So that's been really, really kind of cool to see develop. And we have a session launching in January that is already filled. We've got another session. We were just going to do quarterly sessions. So, January, April, July, October, is that right? What are quarters again? But we've got, the January class filled so fast that we opened one for February. So people didn't have to wait till April. And that one's almost full too. I think we have like 3 seats left. So it's just been really cool to be interfacing with everybody personally. It's one of my favorite things to do. So the coaches are me and Jesse Gillen-Walters, also known as Basicpreneur. He's been doing it too. And we've just I think it's our favorite stuff. Like every week we're like, when's the Indie Founder call? So anyway, if people are interested in those last couple of seats for February, or even if they want to look at future sessions in April, July, and October, they can go to bit.ly/IndieFounder8. And I hope that I see as many people as possible because this really gives me like a boots on the ground kind of feeling about, seeing what people are doing, seeing the things that they're struggling with so that we can make the trainings better, and seeing the things that, they're sailing through, right? Things that are super easy for them. So it really helps educate the agency and it helps educate us, in the training creation process, and just really gets us in touch with the fam, right? So Indie Founder has been, I had to kick off with that because it's been my favorite thing that's come out of 2019. So the next thing would be in August. We went to CD Baby's DIY Musician Conference, and it was kind of cool. Like, it was really cool, actually, because we got to do 3 sessions, and you probably heard us talk about this earlier in the year, but we actually did 3 one-hour-long sessions, or I think maybe they were 50 minutes, but, just right in a row. So we got to meet a lot of new people. We saw a lot of indies there as well, just really kind of trying to open the conversation about more than just like chasing down supervisors and curators. And there was a lot of, great speakers and subjects at the conference. So it really felt like I don't know, we were the young punk kids. A lot of the people that were there are people who, have worked with CD Baby before, have done the conference before. And so, for us to kind of make our debut at this conference, meet so many people, and also be doing it with 3 sessions was really, really awesome. We had a lot of people come up who have been listening to the podcast. I know actually one of the founders that was in the most recent founder class actually was kind of new to us. And she's like, I've been listening, you guys. And then she ended up signing up for the next founder class. And she was amazing. Like, her music is great. She's here in Nashville. So, it was really fun to kind of connect with someone local, and then have her in the founder class. And I know I couldn't make it, but Jesse actually went to her show a couple weeks ago. So that was really awesome. It was really kind of a validation moment too. Like, not that we're super worried about that, but for us, like, I don't know, like, we want the message to get out there. Like, we want indies to understand that they have control over their destiny, right? Like, this isn't just a dream, it's a reality, but it takes you doing it, So for us to, be at this conference and have the ears of so many people, and for the conference to accept that what we were teaching was something valuable it's really cool that we're not just in our own little like world of, the Creative Juice podcast and the Indepreneur site. And, we're actually reaching people who need this information from our point of view. So, we got to hang out with Chris Robley, right? Who he actually was in a founder class too. He was in the 12-week founder class. And so, being able to like actually meet him and Kevin Bruner and, a bunch of the people that we kind of talked to from a distance many times, and then to place those faces with the names, it was kind of funny because I walked up to Kevin Bruner and I was like, hey, how's it going? And he was like, hi. And it was obvious. He was like, who's this person? And instead of introducing myself, I just kept talking because I didn't know for sure that he didn't know who I was. And after I was talking for a little while, he was like, oh, like, you're Corrin. He was like, I recognize your voice. So that was kind of cool. And I think a lot of indies are saying that to us too. They're like, wow, it's so weird that you're actually a person, not just this voice out in the ether somewhere. So, I mean, that was really awesome. I love hearing, new people kind of come up to us. We don't really get to experience like the discovery process of indies when they find us. Obviously they're coming in through ads or through a referral, and we don't get that, face-to-face kind of experience where we can kind of see their brains processing what all this is. So to be able to do that at that conference was just amazing. And anytime that, Cirque and I and, Jesse came with us as well. Anytime that we're able to like actually see each other in real life is just kind of amazing, because it's like, oh yeah, like you're a person that I talk to every day, but I only see a couple times a year, So, but yeah, it was a great adventure. It was a really great experience. I hope they'll have us back so that we can kind of build on the foundation that we set this year. And meeting a bunch of the other speakers and people there, it just is a really warm community. And so we had a great time. Okay, so the next thing that I really loved about 2019 was that we got an office. We've got the Nashville branch. And so so at the same time, so we got this Nashville office, which is why if you're on YouTube, you can see we actually have lights and a tree. So this is the cousin of the tree that's behind Cirque in his videos. His is way further away. We don't have as big a room as all that, so we can't quite create the depth. But that's been a fun experience to just kind of see what Cirque's been doing on his videos and then like kind of replicate it because we have a whole space for it. But at the same time that we got this Nashville office, Jesse came on full time as an agency tech and very quickly ended up becoming an indie founder coach as well. So it's cool. I mean, I think that for us, it's really kind of establishing, what we kind of want to make a name here in Nashville. I think LA and New York are really difficult places to have a business, and it's very difficult for musicians they just are hustling, and it's very difficult to get people to come to shows. And, so for Indepreneur to have, obviously I like it because I live here, but for us to have kind of a footprint in one of the biggest music cities in the country, I thought that was super important, to get into the scene. And as much as people think that Nashville is all country, like there's so much more happening here. There's, songwriters who still need to, market themselves, even if they're not trying to be the artist. It still helps to get your songs out there, have them reinvented by another artist, get people to have, eyes on their stuff. So, I mean, that's been, I don't know, I've just been really excited about it. I think the community here is of a cool flavor, kind of like Orlando has their own little flavor. Like I think Nashville has a flavor that is, there's a lot of indie stuff here. There's a lot of like indie pop or alternative pop. And, those people that aren't necessarily participating in the big sheen of the country music industry, especially, it's just been really rad to kind of be able to see that we're here, we're doing this, So, yeah, I mean, the Nashville office is super cool. It's actually in Franklin, which is, south of Nashville. It's like 5 blocks from my house because I'm super spoiled. So, when it's nice out, it's winter and gross, but when it's nice out, like Jesse will park in front of my house and we'll walk in, and it's just part of like the routine of the Nashville office. So yeah, I mean, it's been great. We're in this like historic old building. I think it's from like 1884 or something like that. That's been updated and redone, of course, but it just has a really cool vibe to it. And if anybody's ever seen our Instagram stories, we've got basically like hue lighting around the whole room. And most of the time during the day, we have them on like a dance party kind of theme. And it's kind of funny because this building is owned by a wealth management company. So they're pretty button up. And then in our room, like if you walk by at night, it looks like there's a rave happening in here. But it's just like, it's a good creative space. I didn't necessarily think that it was going to be, something super amazing, but we've really made it into a home for the Indepreneur branch in Nashville. So, yeah, I really am stoked on it, and especially like seeing Jesse every day and being able to talk with him. We'll take a lunch and talk about marketing things or even just about life, about music. And so I'm stoked that we have a new Nashville office. The next thing, it's funny because we only had the office for like a month, and after that I took off in October to do a tour in the UK. So Jesse was here all by himself, but I was able to go to the UK, and I just played acoustic. I didn't bring a whole band with me, which was actually really cool because I'm putting out a greatest hits album. I know I've mentioned it like 1,000 times, but it's consumed my life. And originally it was going to be an acoustic greatest hits album. It's actually kind of developed into more like a cinematic, like when Westworld redid Nirvana's Heart-Shaped Box. That's kind of what's happening with this album. Not necessarily intentionally, but that's just kind of how it's developed. So I'm really stoked on that. But yeah, so I went over to the UK and I was like, well, I'll just have this keyboard and I'll play acoustic, so that I can start kind of attracting the type of fans who are going to like the next album. And I actually opened for Kovic, who is a artist that has worked with the Indie agency. I've probably talked about him before. But he was just like, hey, why don't you come over and play? And I was like, hells yes. So it was really great. We did, I think it was 12 stops. So I even went to Glasgow, Scotland, and I've never been there before. So that was really cool. And then we actually in between a couple of days on the tour, we had a couple of days off and we stayed like in countryside England. I don't even know where it was, honestly. I was for me, it was really difficult because the Wi-Fi was basically, it didn't work because I think it was like satellite and it was cloudy because it's always cloudy over there. So we just didn't have much Wi-Fi, but that was actually a good thing. Everybody was really cranky at first because, they were like, oh, I can't WhatsApp or whatever. But then we got over it and we spent some time together, his band and me. And we had a video person on the road too and a road manager. So we all just got to spend some nice time, on a break. And England is beautiful. So I definitely, I loved it, as rainy and overcast as it was. So, but yeah, it was a really great experience. I think it was really cool to see Kovic like building on the things that were happening in IndieX, because he was never satiated to just do that, like he was always, he wasn't just hiring us to do things for him. He was like very engaged. He was asking why we were doing certain things. He was trying to learn these things himself. What's amazing is that he actually took everything he learned from IndieX and started his own agency. And he's not working with a lot of musicians. He's working with like an art gallery and a YouTube channel and a couple of other, brands. But, so it's the same kind of thing with Jesse, where he took the knowledge that he learned and applied it, so that for part of his work, right? So that's been kind of cool, but it was amazing. Like the last show on the tour was at, I think it's Islington Hall or Islington Hall. I'm not sure how they say it for sure, but yeah, that was I think maybe 650 cap venue. He had just sold out a 400 cap venue earlier in the year, and this show was packed as well. And we were able to offer free tickets to indies. We didn't have too many to give away, but because it was full, sold out there too. But it was just really great to kind of see the work that he put into all of that, and then to be a part of it, especially as an opener, and meet my UK fans, because obviously, like, I'm running fan finders and, doing all that in the UK. Plus, when I did Warped Tour those 3 years, a lot of UK fans will follow Warped Tour even if they don't get to go. So I was able to meet a bunch of them, which was just amazing. So yeah, it was really fun to see these things implemented. He was doing kind of a tour bot while he was on the road and before he went on the road, to, generate interest and really talk to every single fan. And he was getting hundreds of messages a day and responding to them personally. He also has a couple of kind of mega fans. In fact, there's these two sisters who are especially passionate about Kovic, and they've started helping him out by being like chat agents for his ManyChat and talking to people on behalf of the Kovic brand. And I think that's an example of, we don't necessarily have street teams in the traditional sense, but he's really, taken that and developed, so many great things about getting his fans involved and figuring out how to outsource this stuff and automate it and really, really grow. So I've just been, it was great to see in person him engaging in all of this and taking it as, as ruthlessly as he can, and building upon the strategies that he learned. So that was really great. And I'm hoping I can tour back to the UK really soon, because the number of fans, new fans that I garnered on that tour was really great. So yeah, that was fun. Okay, so my next thing is full stack merch. And I mean, if you've heard me talk on the podcast before, you know that merch is something that I'm really into. I love logistics and, helping people find ways to sell their stuff more efficiently. And then, the things that come after that is shipping them. So full stack merch launched, I want to say in October, we started taking applications, and it's grown kind of faster than I was thinking. And it's been really cool because basically there's like 3 categories of people that full stack merch is good for. But the biggest one that we've actually seen coming through is our international to US based shippers. So obviously we have a lot of indies who, especially in Australia, if you want to ship to the US, it's either extremely slow or very expensive. Even shipping from here to the UK and back can be really expensive and prohibitive, right? So there's a couple of things that can happen. Like, firstly, your customers, when they see that shipping charge, they might be like, whoa, right? Like, I'm paying $15 in addition to the cost of this shirt. So it can result in a lot of abandoned carts. Plus, people are more and more used to free shipping, which is really, really difficult to bake into your store when you have a lot of international fans. So what we've done is kind of set up, we've got a warehouse here in Nashville, and we've set up a binning system. And for me, it was difficult because I was trying to find solutions to recommend in the training and to kind of, refer indies to. And everything was either like putting your stuff on a third-party store, which is, if you've been listening to us, that's no bueno, because you can't put your pixel on it. You can't retarget properly. Like, putting your stuff on, Merchline or Merch Now or, any of these things, or even Bandcamp for that matter, it can be really, really difficult because you don't have that data. And yeah, you can upload your customers and, Facebook can try to find them by email, but if their Facebook email is different from the email they gave you or ordered with, then you just lost that guy, you don't know where he or she is. So this way we've been able to kind of help, people actually have their own store and tap into their store so that we can ship out their North American based orders. So for, especially like I said, in Australia, we've got customers there. We've got customers from the UK and France. We even have a Canadian artist who shipped their stuff to us in bulk so that we could then fulfill all their US orders, because they have more fans in the US than they do in Canada. So, it was getting really expensive. It's I think it's like $13 to actually have a reasonable shipping time. So, whereas here we're shipping things for $2.50, $3, stuff like that. So, it can be cost prohibitive for your fans, not just for you, right? The other thing is customs is a pain in the butt. Tariffs are tough, especially because right now, I don't know if you follow politics, but there's a lot of, different trade wars and politics involved in shipping overseas. So more and more of these things are getting higher customs fees, which means that when you send it to your customer, they end up having to pay a customs fee on the other side, right? And that's just not a good experience for them. So I was okay, when I researched all of these other things, I was okay, you could do third-party stores, which bites, or, there's a couple other solutions, but they were mega expensive. And I'm this is only going to make sense for people who are doing 500 orders a month, And so that didn't seem reasonable. So we launched Full Stack Merch, and we are easily the cheapest thing, because we're not doing break even or anything. I don't want to like lie to you and say that, but it is the least expensive of anything out there. So yeah, our international indies are doing really great with that. There's kind of two other situations. One of our artists does a lot of orders. He does about 400 orders a month. And so it's been really, it's been taxing on him when he's also trying to do all these other things. So for his situation, it just made sense to hire us. It's not necessarily going to make sense for somebody who's sending 20 orders a month. That's probably something that it's more cost effective to just do it yourself. But with this guy, 400 orders a month is excessive. You're doing, 10 a day, or which, if you're not like if you're not focused on it full time and you're trying to do other stuff, it can be a major pain. So, so that is like the second type of person who loves full stack merch, right? And that's been super fun because I've been able to like dig into SKU systems, and everybody who comes to full stack merch gets a SKU system if they don't already have one. So I've been able to kind of help artists do that. And see like all their different, merch items and stuff. And that's just fun for me. So that's been cool. And then the third type of person is, someone who's launching and expecting to have to, package 100, 200 orders within, a couple of days time, right? Because it's not fair for the customer to for the fan to be waiting on this for days because it's taking you a long time to pack it up and send them all out in such bulk. So that's like the third person who would be a good fit for full stack merch. We haven't actually had anyone come on for a launch yet. But like that's where the bandwidth gets really fun because you're like, okay, we got a lot of orders to pack. And so, but that's a fun experience. I love sending out merch on behalf of indies and knowing that it's something that's actually affordable for them and, something that we can really provide a service to the community. I always love when we're able to develop something like that is a win-win. And it's been great education for us. We've seen a lot of creative merch items, and it gives us ideas to, lend to other indies about cool stuff to make and, or where they came from. Right. So yeah, that's been something, that's been really exciting, full stack merch launching. So my last really exciting 2019 thing. Again, I'm the merch fanatic. So we actually launched indie gear, and it's been in the store for a long time, but we were doing exactly the thing that we tell indies not to do, which was doing print on demand and, just not really committing to it. There was so much going on in the company that it just wasn't reasonable for us to take on. But when Full Stack Merch launched, I was like, well, this is a good time to get indie gear into motion because we'll be fulfilling orders anyway. We're storing things and paying for warehousing anyway. This is the time. So if you're on YouTube, I have visual aids. We have snapbacks, which I don't know if you can see that, but they say hashtag stay indie on the front. And a lot of our stuff is going to have hashtag stay indie on it because we just think it's a really kind of important message. And not just stay indie, don't sign to a label, which if you do, awesome. But, not just stay indie in that way, but also stay indie, keep driving towards being a musician, being a creative. Don't feel like you need to quit. And don't let yourself get defeated. So I look ridiculous in snapbacks, but as a present to the YouTube people, I'm going to put it on anyway. Obviously, it's a flat brim. I'm more of a sport brim kind of gal, and I definitely don't do trucker fronts like this. But if this is your style, we have these snapbacks to stay indie on the front, and then if you like to wear it backwards or whatever, super hip hop. It has the Indepreneur logo on the side so that you can kind of sport it. And everything with our merch, the intent is to really make the same choices that we would tell you as an artist to do. And that is to, make merch that has a message to it, but also, and is branded, right? And is something that is familiar, like the hat, but also isn't just screaming your brand as the loudest thing. Because, not a lot of people are going to actually wear something that just says your name on it. So anyway, I think these are cool. They're embroidered. It's like a crisp side look. And I love them. So anyway, that is that. And then we also produced super duper soft t-shirts. It's got our slogan on it. Well, one of many, hopefully in the future. My dream is my fallback. And I'm really proud of these t-shirts, guys, because they're super, this one's obviously a poly blend. It's super duper soft. It's a heather, of course, and it's in this it's in a dark blue color, like Indepreneur is. And so this has dream is my fallback, and then there's a little logo on the front, because, we gotta represent, but not to the point where it's overwhelming. So that's the t-shirt. And then we got hoodies. So these are actually pullover. We were looking at zip, but I actually really wanted to be able to, get the best hoodies available on notice, right? Because we ended up doing this a little quick. So, but I actually like pullover hoodies a lot. Obviously, I'm wearing one right now. This is a highly suspect hoodie. But this is the hoodie. Sorry guys, if you're just listening, go on YouTube. So it has Indepreneur on the front. It's about 3 inches tall, so it's not huge. And then on the back, stay indie. So this is also in like a heather. This is more of like a darker blue navy kind of thing, but they're super mega soft. Everybody at the company has one. But indie gear launching has been really cool. Overall, 2019 has been crazy. We have the Nashville office. It's expanded to 3 people now. We brought on Pepper, who is she's like basically Kenny Jr. She's going to be coming on. She's already doing support. She's going to be getting into the community, getting into more of our organic social stuff and creating content in that vein. So it's just been a really exciting year. And, I, not to get all mushy, but I just really want to thank Indies for giving us a function. I think it's been a long time for me, to be able to kind of get to the point where I feel like I'm making a difference in this community. Even when I was on Warped Tour, like a lot of those people were label artists or they were independent, but seriously, like really, really struggling. Even some of the label artists were struggling. So 2019 has been really a fulfillment, it's been fulfillment of a dream for me because I feel like we're really starting to get the word out and enable indie musicians to be creative and in a way that they can learn to live off of, through Founder and, just the growth of the community in general. So I think 2019 has been wicked and I'm super stoked for what's coming up in 2020.
Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next week on Creative Juice. Peace out. East Coast, West Coast.